Hello, I'm Pam of Healing Stars. This is the chart for the 10th of May 2015, Sunday. It's set for the UK, however, ignore that because I'm using whole signs as the house and the sun is in Taurus, so if you look to the left you'll see this coral segment and that's where the sun is, 19 of Taurus, 19 minutes. The theme of May, although the sun and Mars are both in Taurus as I speak, is all about Gemini. The reason being that Mercury, the messenger, began its journey into Gemini on the 1st of May. And this is the month, we're getting very close, the second time this year that Mercury will go retrograde. It stays, therefore, in Gemini for almost 10 weeks. Now those dates, 1st of May right up until the 8th of July. And on the 19th of May, it will turn retrograde. Planets don't actually go retrograde, i.e. they don't actually travel backwards, but it's as seen from Earth. The other important planet this particular month is Saturn. The reason being that Saturn is also now retrograde. It does that every year, only once a year, but it is retrograding back from the early degrees of Sagittarius in that blue sector. It will go back into Scorpio. However, that doesn't happen in May. So at the time, 10th of May, what's happening in the sky as we start on Sunday, Mercury, the messenger, is at a right angle, a very strong right angle to Neptune. Now, we've had a lot of tension. I think we've all experienced it. It started way back in 2012 and it just finally completed in 2015 on March the 17th. And I'm talking about the square, the tension between Uranus in Aries and Pluto in Capricorn. Cardinal signs. Cardinal means action. And that square is now separating. It's still there. It hasn't just magically disappeared. It's time for us to work through the energies that have been awakened for us. That's what Uranus does, it wakes things up. And Pluto is things that have been buried or repressed, that are beneath the surface, that are asking to be looked at. However, as I said, that is separating now. So what is coming into focus this particular month are the mutable signs. And they are Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius. Mutable is just like the word, it's very flexible, it adjusts, it bends. There's always a negative with the positive, and that negative is too many choices and not enough decisions. Coming back to Mercury, here it is, it's fast moving, so it only stays for like a day or two in that square to Neptune. But Neptune is our dream. Neptune is the ideal. It's very romantic, especially in its own sign of Pisces. So Mercury could be bringing up for you some emotions from the past, a lost dream. Constellation of Shattered Dreams is a process card that I frequently pick and choose and understand it all too well. So look at that degree in your birth chart, 9 degrees of Pisces, and see if something is coming up for you to be healed. And emotions, as long as we feel them, can be processed and let go of. It's when we block them we have problems. The energy of Gemini will increase because Mars in Taurus will move, and I'm going to animate this chart. 1, 2, here it is. By the 12th of May, Mars will be also joining Mercury in Gemini. Now Mars has been in solid, stable, fixed sign of Taurus. Mars is how we get things done. It's action. It's our physical energy. It's our sexuality. And Mars in Taurus is very much the lover. But now it moves into fast-moving, thinking air sign of Gemini. However, Mars likes to get ahead and get ahead fast, and it's opposite Saturn. That opposition occurs exactly by the 15th. Here it is. You can see how that red line has tightened up. It's really, really strong. And that particular day, as it happens, the 15th, is also incredibly powerful. You can just see that the lines get incredibly strong. The reason being that the moon on that day, Friday the 15th, will also join Uranus, triggering, it's the word we use, astrologers, that Pluto-Uranus square once more. But that is a day especially, and you might be feeling it all through the week. You're trying to get ahead, but you're being blocked. Saturn is a wall, like a brick wall. Saturn can delay things. Saturn can just stop us in our tracks. And Mars, think of it as the car is driving, but the brake is on. That's frustration. So slow down, enjoy the ride. That's the wisdom, to use Mars's energy to be steadied by Saturn. Saturn makes us think twice. It wants you, all of us, to consider things. Strategy. Have I got a plan? Is it going to work? So you're slowing down and enjoying, as I said, enjoying the ride. Remember, Saturn is also retrograde. That doesn't help matters. So that's incredibly important. Now, moving ahead, which is what I'm doing here, we go to the new moon. That's on the 18th. That is in a week's time. But that new moon, right at the end of Taurus. The new moons have been right at the end of the signs now for like 4 or 5 months, which is really strange because the new moon is meant to be a new beginning, and yet it's at the end of a sign. So there's just 3 days left of the sun in Taurus before it changes into Gemini. But that new moon will have Saturn very strongly in focus. Notice it's like holding all the strings. So it's a question of how good are you at being patient, at being, slowing down. Today I watched a child, a little girl, a 2-year-old girl, walking on the road with her parents, and she was very slow, but she was really enjoying her walk. She was skipping, she was jumping, she was taking her time. And it made me smile to remember that's the child's world. Everything is stimulating. How much better to enjoy it. And the parents were laughing away at her antics. It's a good metaphor. The next day, this is Mercury slowing down. So although that has a week ahead, I want to give you that warning. It is a forecast, after all, astrology, and it's often a lot more accurate than the weather forecast, I can tell you. But it's very important to observe when Mercury does go retrograde. Interesting enough, the moon will join it at the same time, and that energy of Mercury going retrograde, or being asked to digest all the information that we have gathered over the last couple of months. It also means integrating the left and right brain. Mercury can get caught in detail. It can get caught in the messages. And the message is often not the whole context. So we need to always to remember Jupiter. I haven't spoken much about Jupiter. Jupiter is also going forward, but Jupiter sees the bigger picture. Jupiter is the antithesis of Mercury. In a jigsaw puzzle, Jupiter knows the whole picture. Mercury is obsessed with each individual piece of the jigsaw. So it's a good time to have perspective, to stand back, to see what is really going on around me, to be aware of process, something I've been trained to observe, as most astrologers also have. There's also, this is after all, only the day after that new moon, going back to the new moon, Venus in Cancer. Venus is our personal values, how we appreciate each and every other, how we love as a planet of relationship, and it is moving towards an opposition to Pluto, which is about wealth. So very much about what do we really value? What do I value in my life? And it isn't necessarily money. For many of us, it's time. It's having the time to watch the daisies grow, to enjoy life before it passes us by. And I would be looking at Saturn in that light. I actually like Saturn. I would. I've got 2 planets in Sutton Signs, like Jupiter and Venus both. But not everyone does. So any conflict with authority this is where Saturn is bugging you. This is where you're not understanding your own true authority. So my advice before we get to the Mercury retrograde and the new moon is to do what all the wisdom always says: back up your files on your computer, sort things out, don't sign anything you have to without reading the small print. That's the Mercury retrograde, but it's a wise piece of advice anyhow. And sign up to my newsletter. I am planning my next webinar and I'd love you to join me at healingstars.com.